New York State of Time, 25 summers. Have you ever contemplated suicide while you was locked up for those 25 years?
No, not personally.
Do you know anyone who has committed suicide?
Yeah,
You care to explain?
yeah. One guy that I met in Comstock in 1990, and he was going through a lot of problems. Young brother, young. He was going through a lot of problems. He had like 7 years to do, maybe 7.5 to 21. And he used to always talk about he ain't gonna do it. He can't do the time. I used to try to school him, talk to him, try to talk him out of it. The little nigga was like thinking like if he had to do 7 years and he was 21 years old, he would be 28, 29 by the time he get home. He didn't feel he could go through it. So I did the best I could do to talk him out of it, man. Some nights I used to stay up. I used to tell him about think about your moms, think about your sisters, your brothers, but it just wasn't enough, man. Like about a week later, they moved him to another housing unit, and this guy here, he took his life, man. He hung himself in his cell.
Did you have any breaking points?
This yeah, breaking points is easy to define. Like okay, dealing with the poisoning situation was a real breaking point in my life. I was feeling like that this was the end of it. You know, I'm going through a lot of brutality with the officers. I'm going through being assaulted, being accused of something I didn't do. Had me thinking a lot of time, man. So if you sit there and you reel back into thinking, it comes to a point where you either fall into a depression or you get to a breaking point where something has to give. Either you do something drastic or you go off in other ways. But it was that was one of the breaking points in my time being incarcerated.
Did you ever think you would die in prison or you wouldn't make it back to the streets? And if you did think you was gonna die, why did you think you would die in prison? Or
Um,
how?
yeah. Once again, after receiving numerous of butt whoopings by these correction officers that they handed them after this alleged poisoning, after a while you start thinking like I was thinking to myself like maybe I might not make it through this. You know, I hear the stories about guys that done lesser things to the officers and they was beaten beyond recognition. So at that time, yeah, I was really thinking like maybe I might not make it out of here.
Did you ever see people go insane in there? Like they were one way and then they were insane, nothing to do with medication or nothing, like
Mm-hmm.
just the prison broke them, per se.
Oh yeah, man, it's that happens frequently. I know one guy. It's easy to get his spirit broken. You know, once your spirit is broken, then that's the end of you. You know, no more. It doesn't become mental. It starts to become physical. Like it starts in a depression, and then from there it leads to your spirit broke. You know, you walk around, they mope around. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people like that lose their spirit. They turn into different types of people.
Did you ever feel as though you were going insane at any point?
Yeah, well, that's that's an overstatement because when you walk in there, you feel like you're going insane, you know. And meaning by going insane is that everything is unnatural. You're in an unnatural environment. Everything around you is created to be unnatural to keep you off balance. So it has a tendency to play a role back on you. So you actually think you're going crazy at times for the things that happen in there frequently, you know, with the guys you encounter with, the ones you live around, with the officers. Yeah, it's easy to think you're going insane.
Did New York State prisons offer any GED, college courses or trade courses while you was there? And if they did, can you explain them to us, all of them?
Yeah, I went. Yeah, they offer the GED. They offer pre GED. They also offer college courses. Part of being able to work a facility job and anything, you must have to have a GED. And there's a lot of preparations for pre GED up until you take your GED and you pass it. That's afforded to anyone and everyone that comes into the penitentiary system who doesn't have a GED. College now, on the other hand, was still afforded to the prisoners there until this Governor Pataki came in the office in '95, and he decided that prisoners that was convicted under felonies didn't deserve the right to have free schooling. So that part of the program was snuffed out, and you can still participate in school college courses, but by way of mail. You know.
Did they offer jobs outside of the prison?
No, they didn't. They're not going to offer you a job that's outside of the facility because the jobs that are in the facility was all industrialized. So you basically was used for your labor, and they whole thing is gearing you up to get up out of there if you're eligible and you're eligible to get out of there. So they're not going to offer you a job. They're going to refer you to your parole officer and have your parole officer do the footwork to see if he has any leads for employment for you. But basically, being employed once you release is all basically all up to your doing. All the footwork you have to do on your own.
I know this is a weird question, so to speak, but did you ever think about escaping? And if you did you feel as though it was possible?
Yeah, I thought about escaping a lot of times. And after doing the history of it and checking out, the success rate was so low that it easily escaped my mind. But there was plenty of times I felt like leaving, getting up out of there because I didn't think I can do the time. I didn't think that I was built to do all of this time in prison and all of the different types of things that are occurring with me, getting into the fights, getting into the problems with the prisoners, and then ultimately this situation with the officers with the being poisoning. Yeah, if it was an opportunity and I thought it was ironclad, I probably would have took it to get out of there. Yeah.
Did you know any? So you did? Do you know anybody who escaped?
No, I didn't. But when you in the penitentiary, you hear the stories of the ones who attempted and the ones who were successful and the ones that got out. And some got out, but they either got caught or they was either killed or something drastically happened to them out there. But nevertheless, there is a few prison breaks where they got out.
What's the craziest story you ever heard when you were in prison involving drugs of any kind?
Uh, yeah, this had to be in Elmira and 88. There was these group of guys, man. It was one Latino and one black brother. They was known for bringing contraband through in prison. And so this was going on all the time. But this happened the weekend. They happened to come back with this heroin, man. And it was like the name of it was Red Rum, and it was real popular out in society where we previously resided. And it happened to make its way into Elmira. And this one prisoner that was buying up on H Company, he had bought some and he OD'd in his cell and he died. And the police acted like it was a full scale war in the country. They locked it down. They narrowed it down. They had to find out who was bringing it in. Now these guys who was bringing it in, they left a trail, and the trail that they left was when they gave something to this person and it had his name on it. And when they police checked the cell and realized he OD'd, he had another bag laying right on the side of the bed that he didn't get a chance to use yet. And this would help them identify the people who sold it to them. And one case, one person had came through, and he attempted to bring in I believe it was a whole bunch of cocaine or something like that. And he got a little nervous when he was down there in the visit area, and he decided that he wasn't going to leave it there, and it wasn't enough time to bring it back, so he swallowed it, and by way think he could come back and bring it up, it actually erupted in his stomach, man, and he passed out and he died.
Any more stories concerning drugs besides people just using that you can remember?
Yeah, one time they had brought in the dogs and woke us all up and brought dogs. It's something that doesn't normally happen all the time. If we on a gallery and I'm on a gallery with 42 cells or 42 prisoners, and then you waking up by dogs is in front of your cell, and as soon as the door opens, they run in there and they check for the. Little did we know, right on our company, man, there was a stash with like about maybe 5-6 pounds of marijuana and a bunch of knives and a bunch of other things like contraband issues that was stashed in the cell that was right on our company. No one knew anything about it. As the dogs found it, and that's how we knew that it was down there.
Can you recall any instances where inmates and guards were having affairs or anything of that nature?
Yeah, I witnessed a bunch. Now I was up in the Buffalo area. I was up in the Attica area, and a lot of A lot of the inmates that was in Attica, they reside in Rochester and Buffalo. They was real friendly and cozy with the office cigars up there. You know, times they would take them out for call outs at night, and inadequate times. And inadequate times, you leaving to go to a call out was strange to a lot of inmates, but they was going down there being serviced by a lot of their friends that they knew from the street who happened to be correction officers. You know, a lot of the white women correction officers flocked to a lot of the brothers from that region right there. And yeah, a lot of it go on, still going on to this day.
Were you ever involved in any riots while you were in prison? And if so, how did they start? Who was it between? Were there any repercussions for it? And how long did they last?
Yeah, two major riots. The first riot that I was in Elmira. This was in '88. It started out with uh, uh, this was way before the gang era ever came. It started out with a black brother, man, got into an argument with another Spanish brother, man. And then rather than him confront the Spanish guy about his situation, he waited to go out to the yard where all the inmates gathered at night. And while the older guy, 65 years old Puerto Rican guy, everyone looked up to him, was sitting down playing chess with one of his students. This young black guy walks over and he cuts the old man in the face. And this started a riot. This riot lasted for approximately, man, maybe 2, 3 months. And a lot of guys got hurt, man. A lot of guys got injured. They wasn't even involved. It turned into a racial riot because unjustly the Puerto Rican old man was cut, man. And I don't even feel he deserved that.
So who was the race riot between?
Okay, when he did that, he was a black brother and he wasn't with no known gang or anything like that. He just was a black brother that hung around with other black brothers, you know, from different boroughs. You know how boroughs get together, four guys from Bronx, four guys from Brooklyn, they hang out together. But when he cut the old Spanish guy, it seemed like simultaneously all the Puerto Rican guys stuck together and they just went at all the black guys for nothing without no sense of direction or anything. They just started assaulting black guys all because of this one guy, which we were going to discipline him later, but the pandemonium broke out, so we had to deal with the riot itself.
Tell us about sports in prison, if any sports are played in prison
Yeah,
amongst the prisoners.
yeah, amongst the prisoners, they played. You have your little leagues of basketball, the horseshoes, the bocce ball. A bocce ball is the little hard metal balls that you roll down a sandbox, man, and try to knock the balls in close together. They had a little league and tournament for that. They had the basketball teams that they sit together, but none of these things was ever successful because for some reason, man, you can't get prisoners to play in a sport and come together and play in a sport without it being some type of repercussion or violent acts or anything. So a lot of them get nipped in the bud, you know, but they do offer you sports to participate in while you're in prison.
Do they allow football in prison?
Nah, they never allowed the football.
Baseball?
They stopped the baseball because they realized they have to issue out bats as equipment. And bats is another name for a weapon, an assault weapon out in the maximum penitentiary. So they usually cancel those type of sports like that. But they kept the basketball around. You know, they figure a guy dribble a basketball, what kind of harm foul would that would be?
Okay. While you were incarcerated, did you ever meet someone that you thought was overly talented? Like you always hear this story like, oh, there's somebody, in prison that can beat Mike Tyson or beat Floyd Mayweather, or he was better than Magic Johnson or better than Jordan. Do you know of anyone like that in your opinion who you felt
Yeah, I
fit?
was I was really tight with two brothers, man. They were exceptionally well in two different sports. The first brother was a brother named Gizmo, right? He was a real good brother, man. I ended up meeting him, man. We flocked together, we trained together, we worked out together. I didn't know that he was that good of a boxer because he was a big guy, about 6'3", 6'4", nice weight, move around, agile, and his workout regimen was incredible. But I didn't really know how good he was until I seen him. That's one sporting event that prison was promoting. They also let you participate in boxing programs. This way, if you participate in the boxing program, it'll it'll keep you from getting involved in physical violence with people with the weapons and the knives and stuff. They gave it a way to release tension and everything. It was done supervised, closely supervised. But until I seen his brother Gizmo fight, then I knew he didn't need to be in prison, man. He was an outstanding fighter, man. A southpaw heavyweight guy, incredible. The second brother I met was a brother named Malik Copeland from Fort Greene. This brother had the basketball skills of a Allen Iverson and a Stephon Curry, man, but he spent his life in prison, man. They used to play basketball with him in the gyms, man. He was so good, man, that the enviness level rose so high that the brother found a reason to get into a beef with him, and he ended up cutting him in the face. And because he was so nice on the basketball court, him too, he didn't deserve to be in prison. As a matter of fact, the coach from Georgetown, John Thompson, came to the facility and visited him and tried to recruit him to go to Georgetown University when he got out of prison. But this brother went back to Fort Greene, back into the drug game, and this is how his life ended. But he was very talented, talented enough to play on the NBA level.